Segue right into Tesla Model S and Tesla Model X. They've got a new design. It's a little controversial at the moment. Some hardcore Tesla fans. I'm gonna have to try and separate myself from the videos I've already seen about what people have been saying about it. But as far as I've seen, bold design choice, bold interior choice, and the way that they've changed everything with the horizontal display and the yoke-like steering wheel. Now, here's one thing I can say about that yoke-like steering wheel. Ben, I'm assuming you're pulling up pictures. Um, my father flies a Cessna 172. Yokes work great in planes, terrible in cars. I don't know if you've ever seen people drive Pontiac Trans Ams all done up in Knight Rider style with that yoke style steering wheel.
I have actually. I don't remember what car show I watched, but someone drove one of those and it was like a nightmare trying to
Oh,
operate with that
it's a
yoke wheel.
nightmare. Rutledge Wood, they did an episode of US Top Gear, drove a
That's
Pontiac
where I saw
Trans
it then.
Am
Yep.
without the top. And he's like, fuck, what the hell's happening with this thing? And so you can't really get a grip. And so it's terrible to drive with and it's not practical. And I really hope that they don't stick with that because I know for a fact people are going to get annoyed and you can't do a software fix with that shit. So I get it, Elon. I get what you're trying to do. You're going to go against the grain and say, yes, our cars are like planes. They're fast. They can take off. Great. But let's be honest here. That's impractical. That's going to suck to drive with. Also, Ben, I think I'll open the door for you to talk about the transmission because holy shit, what the fuck is going on with that?
Yeah, a lot of decisions that were made here in general that I'm a little concerned about. In the press images, I will say it looks like they kept the center screen above the steering wheel. I don't know if
I think
that's
it's
just like an
smaller.
imagery thing, or if they did get rid of it. But I'm hoping they kept it because I'm one of my big complaints with the Model 3 was that they got rid of the center screen above the wheel. I don't like the idea of having to take your eyes off the road to check the status of turn signals,
Yeah.
speedometer, things like that. I think that's stuff that should be front facing in the driver's line of vision. At the very least, put up like a heads up display or something to give that information. So I kind of have a problem with that. As you said, I couldn't really have said it better myself. The yoke, not a smart design for something that drives on the ground.
Yeah.
Um, if it can take off, then sure. Anything that's based on the land, I don't see the point.
Yep.
What was wrong with steering wheels in the first place, really? But I think it's part of Elon's whole continued pressure to be like, this car doesn't really need a wheel because you're not the one driving it. And it's continuing that theme.
Yeah.
And as you said, you opened the door for him, continuing with that theme of you not being the one driving it. You are no longer the one choosing what gear you're in, which, I'm already enough of a purist that I don't like not being in a manual because I don't like the
Yeah.
computer choosing a gear. You now can't even choose which direction you're going. So recently, Elon, when being asked questions about this car, for those who don't know, essentially said that the car is going, when asked, because as you can see in these images, it has no stocks, no turn signal, wiper
Nope.
stock, things like that.
It's all
And the Tesla's,
buttons.
mhm. And the Tesla used to use a Mercedes-style shifter column, like in a pickup truck or something. Column shifter it was your stock to go between drive and reverse and park. So that's gone along with the turn signal and wiper stock. Now, if you look closely in some of these images, the turn signals and wipers and things like that are actually integrated now into the steering wheel
Oh,
as
that's
touch
steering
capacitive
wheel.
buttons, which I hate
Yeah. Oh
because
God. Terrible.
if I'm wearing gloves, for example, apparently I now can't use turn signals.
Nope.
So not a big fan of, and anyone that's owned like an old PlayStation or something knows that the heat sensor buttons never, like your cat goes by or something and randomly activates them. They just never work the way that they're intended.
No, they
Um,
don't.
it's not that there wasn't enough room to put stocks in it, which is
Mm-hmm.
what brings me the question of why, and you kind of said it too, Elon likes to try to be different and go against the grain, but sometimes and it's like, it reminds me of the Model X with the swinging doors or
Oh
the
my
floating
gosh.
seat thing, where he has ideas that he thinks are cool in concept, but
Yep.
in practice, just aren't worth the resource expense of doing them or the like practical expense. And I think this is going to end up being one of those things because while the touch capacitive buttons is one issue that I already don't love, but I can see people warming up to or being like tolerating, for lack of a better word, over time. The shifter thing of what Elon has essentially said on Twitter, because Tesla has no PR team, so you can't even really officially quote whether or not this stuff is real. Elon said that the car was going to like use estimated judgments to decide what position the car was based off sensors and things like that, and then decide from there whether or not it should be in like drive, reverse, neutral, whatever. So my brain just immediately went to how many times, you're in a busy intersection, you're trying to do a 3-point
Oh,
turn, people are honking
yeah.
at you, and the car just keeps being like, nope, I think you're supposed to be in drive. No, I think you're supposed to be in drive. And it's just
Oh,
not.
I can't get behind this new driving system, and it would make me think twice about driving a new Tesla. If I was given the chance to drive a new Tesla, which now that we've bitched about it so much, I don't think we will ever, unless somebody offered it to us. Um, I just think, it's a neat idea. The specs of this new plaid Tesla are insane, but
Yeah,
given,
outside of just like everything with Tesla, outside of Elon's weird decisions with the car, I like everything else.
yeah,
Um, I don't. I think we were discussing it a little before recording. I don't love that they've just chose to focus on these horizontal screens. I think
mm,
and Doug Demiro's gone on about this before, but I think doing them vertically, where you can, though, because it's naturally oriented like a phone, plus the fact that I personally just find them a little easier to split the data between, climate and radio and navigation, what have you.
mhm.
I think these horizontal screens for Teslas, I can see why they're doing it, because I think it might have something to do with, like, this image here showing we can play The Witcher now. You can watch Netflix. Like, this screen is better designed for
Oh,
watching a television show. It seems like they just keep trying to make gimmicky ways to like entertain yourself while you're waiting for your car to charge in the charging station, where I'd
yeah,
rather just not have to worry about a charging station. Interesting to me too, as this photo kind of I'm showing your show, not really much for aesthetic changes on the outside. They kept it
no,
pretty much the same, which for how old the S is, I think is a little odd. I think it looks great still. I never thought this car was a bad looking one.
no.
I almost think I think the update actually made it look worse. Like the first facelift in a couple years ago, whenever they did it, and they basically got rid of the
The
fake
fake grill.
grills and started
Yeah,
painting them through. I liked the fake grill more. I think this is a better update on the fake grill, on the, getting rid of the grill
yeah,
situation. I think this new front end has cleaned up the Model S a lot.
yeah.
I like also the addition of blacking everything out now. There's no more chrome.
No more
By
chrome.
default,
Yeah,
it's all blackout now, which is nice.
the
The
chrome
3
seemed
was
a little
already
out of
doing that.
place originally.
Yeah, it worked, I think, back in 2013 or whatever when that car came out, but it's just not, or 2010 really when they unveiled it. But it's just not. Chrome isn't really, a big thing anymore. So I think
No.
it's smart they got rid of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like the screen they added in the back too. It seems like this car is a little bit more of a luxury car in the back seats now, which it was never great for being. Overall, I don't mind a lot of the additions, but yeah, he just made some weird choices where
Yeah.
I personally would still rather own an early launch Model S and just software updated up to having modern features. The only really big stuff that would make me want to get it is those new Plaid Plus features and things like that. The
Yeah.
1100 horsepower, the 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds somehow now, which is just absurd. I don't even understand how that's possible. And I forget who said it, but it's very true, where we really are getting to that point that we're just at the limit of tires of cars, where I don't
Yeah.
think any acceleration times are going to be getting any better, because we just physically can't grip asphalt faster than we're
Yeah.
gripping it at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a horsepower problem, a weight problem, anything. It's always just the matter of physics trying to get the tires to actually apply themselves.
Hmm.
Because every fastest car in the world now seems to be sitting around a 2 seconds 0 to 60 at best, and you're just not getting any better than that. Race cars even are,
Yeah.
if anything, slower than that speed. So it's kind of funny how everything's gone, but I'm very curious, just like a lot of stuff with Elon, and we can maybe use this as a transition, but to see what of this actually hits production. When this new Model S comes out, is it really going to have the yoke wheel? Or is
Yeah.
the yoke wheel magically going to not get approved by the government and suddenly it's back to a regular wheel?
Well, we'll see. Only time will tell. We'll definitely keep you posted on that when the time comes.
Interesting to see what will continue to happen with Tesla. I'm
We shall
curious to
see
see
what we
what we'll
shall
see
see.
with this new update for Model S. Believe it when I see it with that wheel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that first YouTube video of someone driving through a building because the shifter picked the wrong gear, because
Oh
it's going to happen
yes.
eventually.
That
One
will
of
be
these
a
days.
glorious video. Yeah, one of these days you'll just see it go wham.
Yeah,
My
people in
God.
London already like driving into buildings by accident, so I'm really hoping someone in
Oh,
the city here does it. But there
and you'll
was
see it on this channel.
yeah, there was one week where I think there was 4 cars that drove into buildings, 2 banks, a pizza place, and I think a hair salon,
Oh
all within like 6
no.
days. And I'm like,
Oh
how is this many
no.
people in the same city just driving into buildings? It's quite
Oh
funny. All
no.
of them, same thing. Like someone was in the wrong gear or their foot got stuck on a pedal and they drove into a building. It's like, this happens far too often here per
It far
capita.
too
Like,
often. Like at this point, I worry about the consumers who are buying those cars more than I'm concerned about the company, because they can recover. But if people are dying or people getting hurt because of this, this is a serious issue. They should address it and deal with it. And they do. Most of the time, they do address that issue, right? So I don't know, with all the software updates, I mean, that in itself is also a little bit sketchy as well, right? Because sometimes they get it wrong and sometimes they get it right. But I'm just concerned about some of those updates, and those updates can lead to serious accidents, and I think they have in certain events. So
Hmm.
I don't know,
Definitely.
you know, there's just so much going on with Tesla. I'm just concerned. I think that maybe they launched a little too early on that one, on some of those features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see once these things start hitting the market what happens. But yeah, definitely a little conservative. I appreciate the spec updates, but I'm going to be
Yeah.
reserved on this car
Yes.
until we start to actually see it on the
I'm
road
with
and what
you
it
on that
looks
one.
like in its final form. Um,